Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into the weeds of baseball analytics.
Yeah, we are. And we've got some interesting stuff to work with. You shared that Reddit Ask Me Anything, right? With the MLB analytics guy.
Exactly. That plus some career advice pieces and even our real job posting from the Mets for an analytics intern. So kind of a mixed bag.
It is, yeah. You've got the insider view, the, how to get a job angle. It's quite a range.
So our plan today is basically to pull all this together. We want to figure out, what is baseball analytics really? How much does it actually impact the game?
And what's it like working in that world? And maybe for some of you listening, how do you even break into it? That's the goal.
Okay, let's dive in. I think a lot of people, when they hear baseball analytics, they picture these like super secret labs, right? With crazy complex math only geniuses understand.
Totally, like something out of a movie.
But one of the first things from that Reddit AMA that kind of surprised me, the insider, he basically said, look, a lot of the public stuff, like fan graphs and those public stuff plus models for pitchers,
Yeah.
he said they're often just as good, sometimes maybe even better than some of the internal tools teams are actually using.
Wow. Okay, so fan graphs, for anyone maybe less familiar, it's just this huge public website, tons of stats, way beyond, batting average.
Right.
And stuff plus models. Think of those as ways to grade a pitcher's pitches themselves. The velocity, the spin, the movement, not just the outcome. It gives you a better sense of the pitch quality.
So the fact that those public tools are so powerful, that says a lot.
It really does. He even said he uses Baseball Savant, another great public site, pretty regularly, sometimes instead of their own team's tools for certain things.
That is pretty wild. But okay, here's the catch, right? He did say if a team only used public resources, they'd probably be below average. Maybe not the worst, but definitely not top tier.
Right, because teams still find value elsewhere. Scouting, player development,
Yeah.
that hidden talent stuff. It's not all about the readily available data.
So it's not this massive gap in the actual data itself, maybe.
It seems like the real edge isn't just having unique numbers, but more about how teams use and integrate everything. He pointed out a few key areas where teams do have a clear advantage.
Okay, like what?
Well, first, integrating video right alongside the data on their internal websites. Imagine watching a pitch and seeing all the relevant stats pop up immediately. Much smoother than juggling websites.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. Clicking back and forth sounds like a nightmare.
Exactly. Second was customization. Their internal sites let them build really specific filters, ask very targeted questions of their own data in ways public sites just can't.
Gotcha. More flexibility.
And third, data visualization. Basically, making charts and graphs. He said their internal tools for visualizing data are generally way more sophisticated.
So it's about the workflow, making the data easier to understand and act on, maybe combining it with public info, too.
Pretty much. He summed it up nicely, saying the average team's internal site, plus the fact they can always pull in public data, that combination is probably the most powerful setup.
That brings us to the whole numbers versus humans thing, doesn't it? It's not really one or the other.
No, definitely not. And the AMA had a great example. This pitcher, he just knew his sinker wasn't working well when it was really humid. Just a feeling he had.
Okay.
So they checked the data, and yep, it backed him up completely. And then they worked together to figure out a different grip he could use just for those high humidity days.
So the data confirmed his intuition and then helped find a solution. That's cool.
Exactly. It's data informing the player's feel for the game.
But, I mean, analytics can't track everything, right? Like the AMA guy joked about knowing if a player was up all night playing video games. The stats probably don't capture that.
Yeah, good point. There are limits. Coaches, managers, they absolutely factor in stuff like personal problems or how tired a player might be from travel. Things that, don't show up neatly on a spreadsheet.
There was that story, too, I think in the comments, about a star player getting benched in the playoffs.
Oh, right.
Because he was going through some personal stuff. The manager just called it a hunch, got ripped for it, but was maybe just looking out for the guy, beyond the stats.
Yeah, that's a perfect illustration. The manager has that broader view, that human understanding. Analytics is a powerful tool, a huge piece of the puzzle, but it's not the whole puzzle.
Okay, so how does this all translate to decisions during the game? Strategy, pitching changes, that kind of thing. How much is the analytics department dictating that?
Well, it's an interesting dynamic. The analytics team, they definitely load up the manager and coaches with info before the game. Like, here are the best bullpen matchups, optimal strategies for this situation, etc.
Tons of prep work.
Right. But when it comes down to it, In the heat of the moment, the guy in the dugout, the manager, is almost always making the final call. I mean, it's his job on the line, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. He's the one facing the media afterwards.
Exactly. The insider said they have conversations. If the analytics team thinks a decision was, let's say, subpar from their point of view, they might discuss it later. But it's a discussion, not dictation.
No one's calling down from the office telling him who to put in.
Not usually, no. And think about rule changes too, like the shift ban. Analytics departments had to scramble and rethink their whole approach to defensive positioning.
Oh, yeah, that must have been a big adjustment.
Huge. Suddenly, you can't just overload one side. You need new models, new ways of thinking about positioning all the infielders based on the hitter, the situation, and the new rules. It shows how analytics has to keep evolving with the game.
It's definitely not static. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. For anyone listening who's maybe thinking, hey, this analytic stuff sounds cool, maybe I could do that. What did our sources say about actually getting a job in this field?
Yeah, this is where the career advice and that Mets internship post really come in handy. Putting it all together, you definitely need a strong foundation in quantitative stuff.
Like math and stats.
Exactly. Degrees in statistics, data science, computer science, math, economics. Those kinds of fields are really common and highly valued. The Mets posting even mentioned needing a strong background in a wide variety of statistical techniques. So yeah, the academics are important.
Makes sense. But it's not just book smarts, right? You need practical skills, too.
Oh, absolutely. Across the board, the AMA, Career Village, the job post, they all stress programming. Languages like R and Python are basically essential. They're the workhorses for this kind of analysis.
Okay, so coding is key.
Yep. And knowing your way around SQL for databases, maybe Tableau or similar tools for visualization, those are big pluses too.
But how do you get that experience if you're just starting out?
That's where internships are huge, obviously. But also doing your own projects. The AMA expert and career sites really emphasize this. Grab some public baseball data, there's tons out there, and analyze it. Build a model. Create some cool charts. Put it online maybe. Show what you can do.
Kind of build your own portfolio.
Exactly. And that Mets internship, it gives you a reality check too, lifting the pay at $20, $25 an hour. It's a starting point, but maybe not going to make you rich right away.
Right, you gotta love the work itself, especially early on. But it wasn't all about the technical stuff, was it? They mentioned soft skills, too.
Yeah, that was a really interesting point from both the AMA guy and the career sites. You need the technical chops, for sure. But communication, building relationships, those are critical too.
How so?
Well, the Reddit insider, he actually played D1 baseball. He said that experience gave him a feel for the game. But crucially, it helped him connect with players, coaches, front office folks. He stressed that baseball's a pretty small world, analytics included. Having people who know you and trust you, that's huge.
Being able to talk the talk, not just crunch the numbers.
Right. And explaining complex findings to people who aren't stats experts, like a manager or a player that's a skill in itself, may be just as important as writing the code.
And then there's networking, getting your name out there.
Definitely. Career Village, even the Arkansas State Program Info, they all talked about conferences, joining groups like SABR, that's the Society for American Baseball Research, being active online. Making connections is vital to break in.
So show your work, show your passion, and meet people.
That seems to be the formula.
Okay, let's dig into some maybe more controversial or surprising takes from the inside. Fan perceptions versus reality, like how analytics views catchers. That's always a hot topic.
Yeah, and the insider's take was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
He suggested catchers might actually be overvalued analytically,
Overvalued, really? Why?
mostly because they're so volatile. The data shows they tend to break down more, get injured more often, and their offense can swing wildly year to year. He even compared them to running backs in the NFL, super valuable when elite, but maybe shorter peaks, higher risk.
Huh. That's definitely counterintuitive for a lot of fans who see them as field generals.
Right. And on the flip side, he argued that a shortstop's defensive range is often undervalued if you only look at old school stats like errors.
How do they measure range now?
Well, using metrics like outs above average, or OAA, you can find that on Baseball Savant, it tries to quantify how much ground a fielder covers compared to average. His point was consistently getting to balls, even if it doesn't look flashy. That saves a ton of runs, maybe more than people realize just watching highlights.
Okay, interesting. He also kind of simplified what analytics even means, didn't he?
Yeah, he basically said it's just using past data to try and help the team win more games in the future. Pretty straightforward. And the key is focusing on predictive stats,
Like,
like how hard a batter hits the ball, their hard hit rate. He argued that's a better clue to future success than, say, just batting average, which can be influenced by luck, good or bad. How hard you hit it is more stable, more indicative of skill.
so focus on the underlying process, not
Mm.
just the result sometimes.
Exactly. And he gave that pinch hitting example too. Apparently, the data shows hitters generally perform about 10% worse coming off the bench cold
Oh.
compared to their normal stats.
Oh, wow. 10% is significant.
It is. And it might explain why managers sometimes stick with a struggling starter in a big spot instead of go to a pinch hitter. It might look weird to fans, but maybe the manager knows the odds are still better with the starter, even if he's struggling a bit.
That adds some context to those decisions for sure. And he wasn't shy about ranking teams either, was he?
No. He threw out his personal rankings. Dodgers, Rays, Guardians near the top, Rockies, Cardinals, Cubs near the bottom. Some surprises in there for sure.
Yeah, Cards and Cubs at the bottom might raise some eyebrows.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But remember, it's just one insider's view. He also talked about market inefficiencies, basically, where the whole league might be misvaluing something.
Like what?
He mentioned how maybe platoon players, guys who only hit well against lefties or righties, might have been overvalued in the past. And looking ahead, maybe finding ways to exploit the coming automatic strike zone could be the next big thing. Teams are always hunting for that edge.
Always looking for the next advantage the numbers can find. Okay, so let's wrap this section up with some clear takeaways for anyone listening who is serious about breaking into baseball analytics. What's the distilled advice?
Okay, synthesizing everything. Number one, get the technical skills. You absolutely need programming R or Python and a good handle on statistics. That's non-negotiable.
Right, foundation first.
Two, show your passion for baseball. Don't just be a coder who happens to like sports. Do personal projects analyzing baseball data. Volunteer. Read a blog. Get active on baseball Twitter, whatever. Show you love the game and the numbers. Simple sabermetrics mentions staying up to date on trends. That's part of it too.
Make it clear you belong in this specific field.
Exactly. Three, network, network, network. Go to conferences if you can. Join SABR. Connect with people online. Baseball, even the analytics side, is still built on relationship.
Get your name and face out there.
And finally, number four, be realistic. The Reddit guy, career trend. They both mentioned entry-level pay isn't always great, and it's super competitive. You need patience and persistence. You really have to love the process.
Solid advice. So pulling it all together, baseball analytics, it's this really cool mix, isn't it? It's deep data dives at complex models, but also understanding players as people, the flow of the game.
Absolutely. Public data is powerful, way more than people might think, but teams definitely have unique advantages in how they integrate video, customize analysis, and visualize everything. It's a blend.
And getting into it takes that same blend, the hard technical skills, yeah, but also genuine baseball passion and the ability to connect with people.
Couldn't have said it better.
So this leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. As data gets more and more central to baseball, what happens to the traditional scout who relies on the eye test? Or the manager known for their gut feelings?
Yeah. How does their role keep changing? And maybe, just maybe, as we measure more and more, could those truly unmeasurable qualities like leadership or clubhouse chemistry or performing under pressure actually become even more valuable because they're harder to quantify?
Interesting question. Something to definitely think about. We hope this deep dive into baseball analytics sparked some thoughts for you. Maybe you found something surprising, or it clarified how things work behind the scenes.
Yeah, hopefully it was useful. Maybe dive into fan graphs or Savant yourself and see what you find.
Until our next deep dive, keep digging.